and easy, so I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Alan. Okay, so before I even begin, I would like to appreciate Tebut here because after a round of pizza, beers, food 2.0, and 1.5 bottles of wine, you came back more energetic than yesterday. So thank you. And I'm with Telesign. I recently joined Telesign around 2 months back, and my background is into fraud and security. I've been doing this all my professional life. While I might be professionally less experienced than you in the CPaaS space, there are many things which I can bring from the other side of the world into the CPaaS world, because we see some synergies, we see some threats, crossing the channel and coming to the CPaaS space and also the online business space. And this is what I'm here to talk about, right? Just a repeat of the question from yesterday. How many of you know Telesign? More than yesterday, so I was able to do some work. Okay, great. So I don't have a slide about me, but I think I've already introduced myself 2 times, so that's enough. If you'd like to know more, I'm here the whole day. Let's get to the point. Let's talk about Telesign, right? So Telesign is present in 21 of the largest 25 web properties. They have, we have them as our customers for various different services. You guys might be very interested to know that Telesign is the founder, or let's say inventor, of 2-factor authentication based on SMS and voice. Yeah. So something which has become kind of de facto in terms of authorization and verification of accounts in the industry was actually invented by Telesign many years back. We started the company with that. In 2010, the company decided to get into the area of authentication, which is, let's say, verifying phone numbers through data attributes. Things like KYC checks and let's say, to verify if a particular online business, if he had a registration and an account update, if associated to a particular phone number, that information is aligned to the information which operator has for the same phone number or not, right? Very, very important information. Yeah. In 2016, which is quite recent, we also forayed into the area of communications. We are also one of the leading CPaaS players. And 2017, it's very much tied to me. 2017 is when BICS, which is one of the world's largest international communications enabler, acquired Telesign, right? The aspiration was to get into the area of digital businesses or digital service providers, and Telesign was considered as one of the main sources or one of the main platforms for us to take into that direction. Now, so what did it do for us? So as Telesign and BICS acquisition of Telesign, BICS being one of the world's largest international communication players, and when I say international communications, I'm talking about more than 50% of international roaming traffic passing through BICS network around the world. You're talking about, BICS being one of the largest international wholesale carriers, one of the largest SMS hubs in the world. We have a very strong roaming business. We have also, they also have a very strong cloud communication business and numbering business. So that actually, helped the connection which they have with the telecommunication industry, helped Telesign to increase the quality of the services, because with BICS, they were able to obtain direct connections to more than 700 different operators around the world. Yeah, when I say operators, I'm talking about the fixed line and mobile network operators, right? Something which is very, very important in the industry because that ensures quality. Second is, again, with the connections of BICS, the coverage became quite huge because then we were able to target 97% of the world population because BICS was able to provide that coverage to 230 plus countries. Yeah. It also helped Telesign with better intelligence. You would be surprised to know that the numbers which are fraudulent in the traditional telecom industry, they do show some fraudulent activity in the online businesses. There is a direct correlation, right? So if a fraud is happening in this side of the world, you will see that number appearing somehow or somewhere in some of the online businesses. So that actually gives us a very good intelligence of what's happening on the other side of the world, so that we can enhance our intelligence according to that. Yeah, and also continuous improvement. We also get access to international communication data, whether it's CDRs or signaling data or messaging data, and that also helps us keep improving our machine learning algorithms to identify new fraudulent attacks which are happening around the world. So talking about our solutions, I'll not spend a lot of time here, but we have three verticals of offerings which we provide to our customers. One is the first one, which is verification, the 2FAs, which can be over SMS, let's say voice, or directly into the app. Yeah. And then there is the part of communication, which is, enabling, or let's say being a CPaaS player in the area of voice and messaging. Under this, we also provide numbers. So that's another part of the business. But today, I'm going to talk or focus more on the mobile identity space, which is about what a number can actually say about a particular person, right? Or particular entity which is behind that particular phone number, and how do we deliver that? So, so if you look at how Telesign can add value to online businesses, I'm not going to go through each one of them. It's just a view for you to have as to, so if you look at a customer lifecycle across any online business, the top cycle kind of matches, right? You start from lead generation, there are registrations involved, there can be logins. I mean, if there are some kind of transactions which are involved, then that's there. And then the user can actually manage account, or there's an engagement where you can also contact user, or user can contact you for any reasons like publicity or customer support or anything of that sort. So there are these challenges which are across any of these, let's say, customer lifecycle steps, which Telesign is able to help with. So today I'm going to talk about three of these challenges, right? And how Telesign can help address them for their customers. So one is fake accounts, yeah, or anything fake online, let me put it that way. Yeah. And second is account takeover. Yeah. And third is something called as IRSF. There will be a small question when I reach IRSF, so be prepared for that. Okay, so the problem of fake accounts itself is huge when you go online. I'm sure that you know that fake accounts are a problem, right? I mean, you would have heard on the news about the fake account problems on Facebook and other social media, which actually were able to influence US election results. Yeah, and the same approach is being taken with respect to elections or political topics around the world, where fake news, generated by fake accounts is actually being spread across the world. So, but let me talk about some numbers. I mean, I think the volumes are higher, but some of the industry numbers say that around 20% plus of the online accounts are fake. Yeah, it depends upon which business you look at. So if you talk about social media, it's the percentage is much higher. If you talk about let's say an online e-commerce, it can be at the same level. If you talk about let's say news website, it can be higher. Or if you just talk about any other website, it can be low, right? So the point here is that average is 20% plus, but depends upon which market or which segment we are talking about in terms of online business. 40% plus of online reviews are fake. Yeah, if you believe reviews even on Amazon to be good, no, that's not the case. I mean, you will find so many similar looking products having similar review counts with similar kind of videos being recorded in there. Yeah, even if you believe videos or customer anecdotes, and most of them are fake. Yeah, so around 40% of online reviews which you see are fake. So when you buy something, please check it thoroughly before buying. Just don't go by stars and the reviews which are put there. Yeah, Facebook alone, yeah, in just last 1.5 years have closed on 6.2 billion fake accounts. Yeah, that's like, I mean, around 2.5 times of the legitimate user accounts which they have. The problem is more or less on Twitter, more or less on some other social media accounts. So, but the point here is that this shows you the scale of the fake accounts which the social media faces. This is very interesting, and this is the other. This point is something which I touched yesterday around. If you compare the legitimate business,
yeah, like, is that true? Like six
yeah.
Is my question, because close down the servers.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of people. What is the reason that there is like 4 times more fake accounts than real accounts in a service? I mean, how many users are Facebook?
No, 2.5 legitimate accounts there.
Okay, so then basically 3 times more, or 2 times more. That is crazy. That's been removed. I know, it's like being removed, but that's the, I try to figure out in my head what that means to our reality. It's
Don't use Facebook.
yeah. I mean, all the other services, I guess, is the same, right?
And the point here is it's very interesting because Facebook after whatever happened, they started publishing how many accounts they're closing. So if you what I did is just quarterly numbers which they publish, I just summed up. Yeah, so in 1.5 years you see 6.2 billion accounts being closed, and these are the same guys are trying again and again ways of creating accounts, and Facebook tries to close them down. And Twitter is very infected with this. You talk about trolls. I mean, around 80% of the trolls are fake. They just are there to increase the count and the, let's say, interaction which happens against a tweet. Yeah. But what is very serious is this number, yeah, where I mean all the online businesses, all the businesses, let me put it this way, they have some or the other kind of social presence, right, or social media presence. They also solve problems. Their customer service also interacts with users using online pages or online accounts. You won't believe that when you compare with real versus fake business accounts, it is more than 2.4 times. Yeah. So if a user is contacted by, but Lufthansa website on let's say Twitter, saying that we see some suspicious activity on your account, can you give us whatever details you want? A normal user will just go ahead and give it. Yeah. He will not check for verified or not verified. Of course, the online social media accounts try and educate customers or users about it, but okay, it's just, I mean, the old people, the young guys, they become kind of the focus of the attacks, right? So that's a big problem. And people like us, normal users, they also provide false data when they register themselves to an online service. Around 50% of users do that. Maybe a wrong date of birth, wrong name, email address which doesn't exist, wrong contact number or whatever, right? So that's also a big problem because you cannot verify a user properly if they are actually giving you false information. It's not only for Facebook or social media. It's also about some services which are there which are online, which can also be government services or something else. I mean, if you give false data, then you don't get those benefits, or you try and do something dodgy, right? Some of the techniques which these guys use are using sophisticated bots. Yeah, SIM farming. When I say SIM farming, that means, and I come from the telco world, so I know what SIM farming is and how big that can be, because we have dealt with, or we are still dealing with SIM boxes, size of tens of thousands of SIMs working in a data center with, let's say, plug and play equipments, and you can control all of them using software. SIM farming is another way of doing that. It has been so it's one of the means where fake accounts are managed and grown. Why you do SIM farming is that if an online account is actually doing SMS verification, then you have a phone number where the SMS can be received, right? Using burner or VoIP numbers is another way you can create, let's say, billions of fake accounts. And why it is done, I already talked about spamming, phishing, spreading fake news, post fake reviews, impersonation of a person, right? Creating logins on, this is very important. So if you create a login on Facebook, there are a lot of other online businesses which say, okay, log in using your Facebook account. Then it becomes very, very easy. You don't have to enter things again, right? Increased number of followers, non-competitive behavior. So you won't believe Justin Bieber, 40% of his followers are fake. Yeah. So and even non-competitive behavior. You go to your let's say sales site of your competition. You can post fake reviews saying that, okay, and bring down the overall let's say rating. So just a quick let's say view of when I say commercialized bot, what does it mean? If you go online and search for affiliate marketing, you'll get thousands and thousands of softwares who actually try and entice users or make you affiliate by just a click of a button. Yeah, and what you have to do is that they post targets. Yeah, it can be creating an account on a website or posting a review to a product or something of that sort. And then when you finish that, and if it converts, then you get something as a user, right? And then the software provider, because they control the infrastructure, they get some money from, let's say in case of online commerce, they get part of the revenue which they earn, right? It's such a interesting topic to create a pyramid scheme on, right? Where you, as a person who can entice or influence people around you, can actually say, you know what, you do this for me, and you will get a cut out of it. And then they can become an agent and go and sell it to somebody else. I had to take out my aunt from one of such schemes where she used to just sit in the morning. She's a housewife, to sit in the morning and just click on the ads or post reviews or something of that sort, right? And I said, don't do that. I mean, and I had to explain. It took a while to explain her how it works, but okay. At the end, she was able to close this activity. But it's quite widespread, because then it actually brings legitimacy of the online reviews and all posted by users, because the IP addresses are different and all. So online businesses are trying to track that. They have. They can escape that. And then you're talking about SIM farms and burner phones, yeah, which are very, very readily available. Now let's go to the second problem, which is data breaches. Now, there is a website which is called as Breach Level Index. Just go and visit that website. That talks about how many breaches, how many records have been breached right now. Yeah, since 2013. Since 2013, around 14 billion plus records of let's say individuals have been breached in various attacks. Yeah, and so that means more than twice of the world population or information related to that have been breached, right? And again, here is my story. I mean, these are just numbers. I mean, I used to feel very okay. I mean, it's happening. It's a reality. But when it hits you, you realize how serious this can be. And I remember being part of one research project where we were thinking of, let's say, reselling, not reselling, but let's say gathering all the intelligence about what records have been breached so that we can provide it to online businesses if the account there has been breached so that they can inform the users, right? But there in one of the latest breaches, I found my login credentials to be present in plain text. So they would have just got it from some website. But what was very interesting to see was that, that password which I was using, even being a fraud and security professional, I was using it across websites. Yeah. And the point was that, what did I do about it? Nothing. I said, okay, I'll change it, And then within 2 days, my Uber account gets hacked. There are 15, 17 rides which are taken in Russia. Yeah, it was a problem getting my account activated again or in the last state again. Yeah, and then my Google gets hacked. I think Twitter got hacked or something like that. So the point is that it was a hell coming out of that particular attack. And if I'm facing that problem, you can imagine how a normal person will actually deal with these, right? He will come out of social media for sure. Yeah. So what did online businesses do about it? They resorted to actually target data breaches. They resorted to approaches like 2FA, which actually worked out pretty well. Google has published numbers, and other businesses have published numbers. They say that 99% of bot-based, let's say, account takeover attacks can be prevented by 2FA, which is very effective, right? But now you see fraudsters evolving and trying to find another ways to deal, let's say, to actually hijack accounts. But these are more let's say individualized approaches where they focus on a target and try to take over his or her accounts. It includes SIM swap. Yeah. So SIM swap essentially means that you have your phone number, you have your SIM. Yeah. And then I, being a fraudster, I find a way, maybe through paying or let's say involving an employee of telco, or maybe calling the customer care, giving them some personal information of me, or trying to just let's say entice them to give me that information, not information, but actually make them do something to actually make them change my SIM to the SIM which I'm having right now. So I'll purchase a SIM and ask them to port the number, not port, but shift the phone number from that SIM to this SIM. I can say that my SIM is lost and here is my information, right? And if you try 10, 15, 30 times with different customer care agents, you might actually find one who is ready to help. Yeah. So it has become very, very popular. Not very popular, still rare, but you will see that some of the accounts have actually, or some of the SIM swap attacks have actually come in the news, where people are trying to, where they got hijacked of millions of dollars worth of, let's say, Bitcoin accounts and other bank accounts, and they are suing AT&T and other operators about it, right? But then you have porting. Porting is becoming more and more easy. In UK itself, they are talking about a one-day porting or one SMS-based porting, and that also, the purpose is the same. You have another SIM and you transfer a number to that SIM, which the fraudster is currently having. We're talking about call forwarding. That's like temporarily forward the voice call which is coming, or it can be authentication message or 2FA message which is coming to a number, forward it to another phone number, right? And then phone number recycling. Phone number recycling is you deactivated your account, yeah, but you did not change it to in the online accounts, right? So your online account is still associated to the old phone number. It can have a problem where the messages or account let's say promotions and all are still going to the new number, but it also has a problem of recycling number hunting, where the fraudsters actually go in the market to get hold of recycle numbers so that they can get hold of some online accounts, right? Then I'll quickly go through IRSF. It's the biggest fraud in terms of revenue loss, or let's say, revenue loss which is existing in telecom industry. Can anybody tell me the full form of it? Anybody? I mean, we are losing $10 billion against this every year. Yeah,
It's supposed to be your rate services.
yeah, it's one side of it. It's called as international revenue share fraud. Yeah. So how many of you have got missed calls from some weird looking numbers around the world? Oh, that's more than the people who knew Telesign. So so the point here is that why is somebody from let's say weird number is actually giving you missed calls? Because they're enticing you to call back. What are those numbers? If you try and call those numbers, you will be charged a heavy fee. Yeah, these can be premium numbers. These can be other high-priced numbers, or it can be just some numbers which are hijacked by some party in the call chain. Yeah. So the idea here is just to let's say on the source side and on the destination side, do something so that the numbers which are present on the destination side are attached to the fraud side, and that person earns through the traffic which is terminated onto those numbers. Yeah. So so that's what IRSF is, and there are many methods and tricks which are available to fraudsters to do this particular fraud, and that's the reason why because so and let me so we were talking about programmable telecom vertical, right? I'll call this vertical as, let's say, modern communication providers, right? It can be you guys, or it can be, let's say, Googles and Facebooks of the world, or let's say Skypes of the world, and the other VoIP service providers. If you see how big is this issue in the overall modern communication, let's say, players. When I was in BICS, we did some study and we found out that 30% of the overall fraud traffic which we were receiving to these fraudulent numbers were coming from these online service providers, or let's say modern communication providers, including CPaaS, UCaaS, and other players, right? And the point was that it actually resonated with us because this industry has seen tremendous growth over a few years. And just between 2017 to 2018, this particular fraud in the modern communication platform grew by 60%. Yeah. So fraudsters started targeting the traditional telecommunication player less, but the modern communication players more, because that actually provides them ease of entry. Yeah. Because I mean, if I go to any CPaaS, let's say, player, I can create account, I can push some money in that, and I can start generating traffic to those numbers. If the payment source is fraudulent, it makes my life easy, right? If you give me an opening credit, I can generate millions of missed calls even without, let's say, generating, or let's say, cutting even a single cent. Yeah. So the point here is that this is actually giving them an easy way to generate massive amount of traffic to the numbers they want, either by doing missed calls or generating the traffic directly to those numbers. So as I said, there are many ways the traffic can be generated at source, yeah, or and many ways it can be collected at the destination. Yeah. So I'll just walk you through the sample IRSF flow. So let's say these are modern communication providers, right? And what you will find is that if a fraudster can be connected to these modern communication providers directly, or it can be connected to a customer of these modern communication providers. So it actually brings in one more level of complexity where the fraudster is not connected to you directly, but actually a business which is connected to you, right? And they can do subscription fraud. They can do, let's say, they can use compromised payment methods. They can have a non-payment intent, money laundering, terrorism financing. There can be many other sources by which he can generate that traffic, which can fuel that traffic. And the point here is that not only that, but let's say even the modern communication providers we have seen get hacked, their SBCs get hacked, and you start seeing traffic going to the numbers which are associated to a fraudster. And these numbers are normal looking numbers. Yeah, most of the time, so I'll say around 30-40% of the time, they might be tagged to a designated premium number range in a particular country, but most of the time they are not. Yeah, in a lot of cases, the calls actually go to close ranges or unallocated number ranges in a country which nobody is expecting traffic to, and somebody in the call chain just hijacks those calls, and you are built for that. Yeah, but if these numbers actually exist, the numbers actually terminate. These may be IVRs, may be, let's say, fake conferencing facility, and they pick up and they generate traffic to that, and let's say a fraud is complete. Yeah. Okay, so I'm kind of at the end of my presentation. A few slides to go. Now, the point here is that if I'm talking about a user identity, right? Until a few years back, and still a lot of websites do that, they consider user identity as an email address, a username, let's say a handle, but that's not who I am, right? And I'm Abhijeet Singh. I'm around 30-year-old. Yeah, I can be contacted at this number. I own a Huawei phone. I hail from India. I live in Brussels. I'm a heavy user of all social media accounts. I'm a big online shopper. So this is who I am, right? I'm not an email address or a password. And the point here is that if you're trying to protect a particular user against attacks, you should actually use personal information to actually protect that person, not online username and password, right? So, and that's what we try to do. But in order to do that, you need to find a way, a hook by which you can collate all the information to a single entity. Yeah, and that entity is phone number for us. Yeah, because phone number is kind of a universally acceptable and let's say available entity, which can be associated to an individual, business, things, or anything, right? And we all know phone numbers, and that's what we try to do at Telesign. We are at Telesign, phone number is let's say the center of the universe for us, right? So that's what we try and do at Telesign, where we try and gather intelligence about a phone number activity in both the online world and the communication world. Yeah, we used to do it only for the online world a few years back, but BIX actually has enabled us to actually, look at the transactional information, or let's say the information for which the phone number is supposed to be used, the calls and messages, and enrich our intelligence with that. Yeah, so we on the phone number side, we provide two different kind of services. One is on the ad hoc phone attribute service, which we call as phone ID. Yeah, and other is score, a risk score against a particular phone number. Yeah, so when you talk about phone ID, it can be as easy as saying that, okay, a user is trying to register himself. I see that phone number associated to another account at this point of time. What was this phone number ported recently, or was this phone number, let's say, SIM swapped recently? And we provide that information back to online business, saying that yes, it was ported, let's say, a while back, so that they can then, let's say, limit the exposure. They can then take a secondary verification step, or even decline that transaction or registration activity which the user is trying to do. On top, we provide phone number scoring. So that means if you want to identify a particular phone number which is coming to your online business and trying to register an account, how risky that phone number is, so that if it comes out to be very, very risky, you just decline that phone number registration itself. You just tell user to use another phone number, right? But and its use cases can be many other. Wherever there is a phone number touch point, you can actually query the phone number risk score, which is powered by the machine learning working on the data set, which I just talked about. Right from phone number being identified as VoIP or burner phones, or let's say newly activated accounts, to the from the information of, let's say, crowdsourced information from other online businesses. If they have faced fraud against a phone number, they report it back and we know about it. And then if we see fraud attacks happening in the telecom world, which is more than 55 million plus phone numbers, I mean, we also have it as part of our algorithms built in. Apart from that, machine learning also keeps identifying new patterns and activities which these guys are doing, like velocity and how many online businesses have just activated that account at any given point of time, right? So if it shows a very high velocity, then it's a very high chance that that particular person is trying to do fraud. So that's one thing. Now, okay, this is what I already talked about, so I'll not go through that. But what is very interesting to see is that we actually as part of the data set which I was talking about, we are talking about trillions and trillions of data points being present there, which are used to identify a score or risk score against a particular phone number. And as you can see, I was talking about machine learning algorithms. Just a view of how helpful can that be. So these are two sets of phone numbers and their activities, and you can clearly see that robocalls show a very different calling patterns than an application, let's say, or A2P traffic being generated by systems, right? Same with human versus machine traffic. So humans provide that kind of, or a number associated to human provide that kind of traffic profile. But when you see A2P use cases, or let's say OTP use cases, you see a phone number giving this kind of a profile. And when it comes to robocalling, you see this kind of a profile, right? And also the things like, if you look at connections of a particular phone number, that can be really important to identify if this is a particular legitimate user or not, because it shows strength of connections. It shows how many diverse connections he has, or what is the directions they get incoming calls, they get outgoing calls, and things like that. So it also helps us differentiate from many other, let's say, illegitimate accounts. Just a visualization. I'm not going to go into detail, but the idea here is just to show you that for an user registration use case, what checks can Telesign help online businesses do to ensure that a user which is registering is legitimate or not? Yeah, and all the purple color bubbles are the Telesign touch points at a user registration process. Something which user is not even aware of, but you can still verify a number which is associated to an online user, seamlessly enter the let's say online business without even them knowing that you actually perform these many checks. And on top of that, let's say IRSF. If, let's say, you have a problem of IRSF, you can actually, any number, let's say B number or A number, which is hitting your network in terms of a call request, you can ping it to a score and see if that particular number is fraudulent or not. Yeah. So those were some of the use cases. As to how we actually solve that problem. It can be in terms of IRSF, it can be very, very easy. Here also it can be very easy if the risk, if risk score is the only thing you try and match. But if there are other use cases, you can also check it through Telesign. And the last slide, the point here is that, I mean, apart from the use cases which I talked about, there are certain other examples how we have actually helped other online businesses across user lifecycle to solve the problem or solve various different challenges which they have faced across various different steps of the user lifecycle or the user touch points where the phone number is present. Yeah. So I'm here the whole day, and in case you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer now or during the day. Yeah.
Great. So what I suggest is take questions basically while you're here through the day. I mean, most of the major web providers are customers of Telesign. I think what they've got is a great package of services that can be repurposed virtually every enterprise that's out there. So all the customers and the people in this room, I think, should be looking at how they can take the lead that Telesign's got and help their customers in managing fraud, but also the efficiency with which they're handling calls, especially if it's $5 to $10 per call answered. So again, thanks so much.
Thank you so
Copy
much.
is upstairs.